Hello everyone! This is our next talk from the Happy Life show, and in this show we are going to talk about the roadmap to enlightenment. Is it good to have a roadmap? Is it good, beneficial to know which steps are on your path and what to expect? But what are the negatives of having a roadmap? That's what we are going to talk about. Please join us and we see you in a minute.
Hey everybody, welcome to the Happy Life Show, and let me introduce you to my beautiful, gorgeous, scrumptious, sexy, divine goddess, Maria. I just met a girl called Ahiranta.
Yay! That's me.
My wife.
And thank you for joining us, and let me introduce you to my gorgeous husband, Ozay Tulku Rinpoche. And I truly mean it, it's the best man who walks this earth. I'm so eternally grateful having him beside me in this life. I must have done really, really good in my former lives to deserve you beside me. And he...
Good karma.
Yeah. Hello everyone, we are going to talk
Let's
about...
come down to earth, Bill.
We're going to talk about roadmaps, a roadmap to enlightenment.
Okay, yes.
There are obviously pluses and negatives. Let's highlight them.
Alright, to start with, over all the years, I've been on when Yahoo groups, remember Yahoo?
Yeah, we started, there was no
Yahoo
Facebook, we started with Yahoo
so,
groups.
like,
yeah.
we're going back some 20 some odd years. And I've been working, since my wife passed away, I decided to devote myself to, well, because the internet came, and I didn't want to go out there and do what a lot of them do, you know, they want to get people all together, let's meet up, let's all pay our money and let's do this and let's get rich type thing. And I don't see the need for that. You know, the internet and that's an ashram, that's a church building, because you can accumulate all the people and you can build up the same energy on the internet as well you can in those buildings. And so I decided that with the prospect of the internet now, that can help me to engage with the world out there at no cost to anyone except my own energy and Ahiranta. And so how we become enlightened is, from what I learned, I'm totally really against a step-by-step instruction as to how it's going to happen, because what I've seen is the imagination is a very powerful thing. And when a person have been reading about the jhanas, which is all the steps to enlightenment, the Buddhist steps, what happens is that the imagination, it creates an ego, the imagination, the ego, and many years in some cases of devoting oneself to the continual reading of the jhanas, the continual talking to their little group of friends about jhanas. And because what I found was, I would go in to those groups of Buddhists and various other even Vedic traditions and stuff, and I would go into those groups and they would be talking all this fancy jhana stuff, and I needed an Indian translation from Indian into English to understand what all they were talking about. And they were often Americans, Germans using English and Indian, and then you had Americans using Indian, and we all had as a first language English. And so there was something wrong with that for starters. Why wasn't people translating it in English and keeping it in English? And Sanskrit is Indian. You know, every word is Indian. Why do you need Indian words to say something we can say in English? So there was something strange about that, and for me, there was suspicion straight away was why do they need to
And a
converse?
strong resistance, eh?
Yeah. Why do they need to converse and use those words when you've got these simple English words that everyone understands? Doesn't leave anybody out who speaks English. Nobody has to work their brain out to understand, translate that language into what this means in English. And often what I saw is that they would use a word without the understanding of the meaning, and you know, it was just all wrong for me.
Yeah, also, if you translate from one language to the other, the essence often is lost, especially when it's done by scholars who didn't have the experience of enlightenment.
Yeah, so
and that's where things go wrong.
You had that issue for starters. You had the word translation, and the egos like to appear to be an ego is a sly fox, and it likes to pretend it's not really what it is, and it wants to be the enlightened, the holy Buddha, the enlightened one, and so it'll use identification as a tool to take that position. And identification means knowing all the scriptures, knowing it word for word, knowing, you know, everything. So you've got that issue as well. That's the second issue, is knowing the jhanas, then knowing the Sanskrit, and then the various stages intellectually. And the thing is, right, like I said, the ego is very smart, very sly, because it's yours, and it will always outsmart you, because it's you, your ego, you. And like I said, the ego likes positions of recognition, standing up there. Everybody recognizes that I know the Sanskrit, I know all the various stages. So you've got all those issues for starters. And then, okay, you were looking at it now, and okay, but I do meditate. I'm honest about that. And remember, I keep saying this all the way through. The ego is a very smart, sly fox. He gets you from behind, not from in front. You don't see it from in front, like subconscious, from behind. And I'm not talking.
I know, kinky sex, no?
Yeah. Who said about sex?
Kinky sex, yay!
You distracted me on purpose now, you are. I'm trying to be serious with these people.
Egos get you from behind. Let's continue.
From behind? What are you turning this into? You're blushing, you are. Anyway, so where was I? After
the ego doesn't come from the front, it goes from behind. Continue.
Anyway, where was I? From behind. And so we've educated ourselves. We understand all the various stages before we are building up energy to sit in serious meditation, because we don't really want to remain. Some of us don't really want to remain into the intellect. Some of us do, you know. So you've got there are various stages, and those things that I just spoke about, the stage of having all these Indian words and identifying to being somebody who has knowledge of Indian culture and the jhanas and what have you, and being able to translate and understand. And in some cases they don't even know what the words mean, but they still use them anyway, because I've questioned those people. Many of them don't understand those words, and I'm there sometimes, and I like, what does that mean? And I either ask them, what does that mean? That's when I find out they don't bloody know. And then sometimes I've got fed up of asking, and then I go and Google Translate and find out what it means, and it's suitable English words that can be used. So Sanskrit, crap. I haven't seen any.
It's great for the Indian. It's great for the Indian speaking people.
Yeah, I shouldn't say crap, because there are words there are mechanics in enlightenment, I do understand, that do have no words, and the words that I use are the wrong words, like for instance love.
But does Sanskrit has a word for love? You don't know, isn't it?
I don't know,
because
but I'm just using that.
Yeah.
I'm using that just as an example, because what people call love that I see, and how I understand that they understand it in general, is what I can only relate to attachment. desire and attachment. And that's not what I understand as the love I came to after enlightenment, or during the process toward enlightenment. So that's just one menial example of there needs to be a distinction between the love that the person has for their partners, and because I can think of many incidences where that so-called love turns into hate, and love cannot turn into hate.
So it was never love to start with.
It's never love, it's attachment or
an idea concept, yeah.
Or an insecurity being met, which gives you a feeling of a certain thing in your body. You feel secure, and that's a feeling which we mistakenly call love, but it's not. It's insecurity being met.
Yeah. Oh, and that's very good. Yeah,
it's
like
attachment.
That. Yeah.
So I don't. And then when you suddenly go into something called enlightenment, or towards enlightenment, one of the stages towards enlightenment, you discover something, and it's beautiful, and there's no word that you can use to identify it except for the word love. But then if you accept that that is love, you have to accept that all that other stuff you thought was love is not love. So, and that's the phases that I went through. So I had to try to understand, well, what was that then? What was that I just left behind? And I'm looking at it, and, you know, I tried to understand it, and then I figured it out. It's not love, it's attachment. Because if it's taken away, you become angry, you become, you know, all these horrible things, you know, jealous, anger, hate. That's all from what we call love. So it can't be love, can it?
So that realization that love, what people label love, is in no comparison to what you experience later on in meditation. That's one of the milestones, one of the markers in the path. So is it beneficial to know beforehand that you come to that on your path, or is it a negative that you know what is lying ahead?
Well, that's an example of having travelled through certain stages. You know, you've gone.
But is it beneficial to know each step?
No.
Why is it not?
It's not beneficial because of the very fact how sly you are, and how we are conditioned to make effort, and from our effort we get reward, and we are conditioned in that way. And we are, right from childhood, we are conditioned effort, reward. And therefore, if I sit down and read, which is effort, it's not meditation, it's effort. And we are just basically going through the same grooves as what we've been conditioned to go through all our lives: effort, reward. So if I keep reading about enlightenment, I'm going to become enlightenment. And you won't say that to yourself, but your subconscious will. You know, you've been doing it for 25 years, you know, you deserve something, surely. There must be some reward somewhere. I've been reading this, I've been speaking to these people, my friends, and they, you know, they expect me to be enlightened. I expect me to be enlightened, so I'm enlightened. I know everything, I know all the answers. Only trouble is, if you ever come across a real person who's had real enlightenment, they will see straight away that you're not enlightened, you've never had enlightenment. And a real person who knows what enlightenment is will never say that they are in enlightenment, because it's a total fallacy. And we've covered that before. So, stages. Okay, I will tell you that when I went into my own personal meditation in isolation and fasting and all the what we understand as discomforts of enlightenment. Well, first of all, yes, there are stages you will go through, but you don't need to learn about them. And I would say the best thing you can have is somebody to say to you, go and sit. And don't come out of that sit. Stay sat as long as you can without moving, without doing a single thing. Just sit. And if you do that properly, then you will like a moth that's attracted to the light. You will eventually go all the various stages of all the jhanas You may not understand
without knowing them.
without knowing anything of the
But
jhanas.
you recognize when something happens, isn't it? You recognize it in your own meditation that you had reached whatever label it might have.
You won't identify it at all.
No,
you will not
you became
identify
aware of it. Like, for example, you saw the light and then disappearing of the light disappearing. But you didn't know a light would show up. You never was told that.
No, it was all direct, in time, on time, there and then experience, if you like. It's not an experience, the event, the final thing is not an experience, but it's like, if a weight is lifted off your shoulders, you feel a difference. And would you call that experience? And I know a lot of the Advaita guys out there who play around with words and, outsmart the mind type thing until there's no answers anymore, but you're still there with a smart mind and you haven't got enlightenment, you just got a smart ego. And enlightenment is all about dissolving the ego. And we come back, us who's been there, and we jump back into an ego, and that means mind, which we dissolved. And then if we consider that we need to do something for the greater good in this life, after my wife died, I decided to do something for the greater good. I kept my mouth shut for 20 years. And then I thought, what am I here for? And so I thought, serve the greater good. That's all. And it's a hard lesson when someone you're close to suddenly is taken away, and I became reattached, and that was how I lost my enlightenment.
Well, you had to become attached to your wife, because she would not have felt loved. She lived from another plateau, so she expected you to become sexual again. She expected you to show an attachment that you like to be with her.
I had to become, as we call it, human.
Yes.
And an enlightened person living in an enlightened life in a Western society will just be outside. He'll be odd. He'll be a maverick.
He will be slaughtered, isn't it?
Yeah, he's the lamb. He's also people will not want him around. He's dangerous to society. He is a threat to society, this society. So you have to, as a person who's had enlightenment, I came back and I had to, it took me 3 years to get rid of this. It's basically a handicap in this society, and to carry it with you, you have to jump back into the ego. You have to create a new ego, a new player, a new actor. And I've said often that if I was to be what I really am, people wouldn't get on with that. They would be very uncomfortable, and therefore, in a way, is from an act of compassion, I become this what you want me to be.
Because your silence is really strong.
It's devastating.
It's a really strong. Even I picked that up. How strong. If you go more in your meditations and more regular and more deeper, you become really silent.
Yeah.
And there is a real strength in that silence. But that's because I am not have not the experience of enlightenment, and it triggers an insecurity in me. Although I have reached mind realization, I do understand the mechanics, but my ego is still there, and silence in society and relationships is often used as a weapon. Huh?
Yeah.
So it feels threatening to somebody who lives from an ego fully, and so I speak from experience that most people will not be able to deal with you.
The thing is, when you've had enlightenment, you dwell in the joy and the bliss of silence, and you don't really want to move away from it. And then the thing is, in society, you see that does cause suffering to those who are close to you or around you. They don't understand, and it causes insecurity in those people. But fortunately, there is the law of that essence nature that you've reached is built on love and compassion, and you see suffering and you want to quell the suffering, and so therefore you know that you can't be in that silence, so you have to sacrifice that and become a person who is conceived as being like everyone else in a lot of ways, and to be what you call normal is what we call normal is not actually normal, it's not natural, and yet we are here. So in another contradiction to that, it's normal, so yet
the norm is not normal.
The norm is not normal, but it's normal. But I'm sorry about that.
I understand.
It's just once you've found that silence, then there are stages inherent in it, and that's joy and bliss. And you're like, you're when you was a kid, the ice cream man turns up outside and Mum, I want ice cream, but quick, give me the money, I want to go back there, and back to the ice cream man, quick before he goes, like, you get all, and that kind, I'm trying to explain that urge that's within you, and that's how it is with the first part of enlightenment, and you want to keep going back, you're drawn back into it, and the longer people say it's dangerous because they don't understand it, and I spoke earlier on about the possibility of going into some form of being of light, because if I'd succumbed to staying in that state, I was never allowed to stay in it as I would have wanted to have. Not wanted, because that's the funny, just to be free. I was never pulled this way or that way, so I'm there, and I didn't want to be brought back into this polluted world that was going to pollute my beautiful mind, beautiful state, because I knew that I had to get rid of that in order to become this beautiful place. So like the kid running after the ice cream, in a way, mildly relates to that kind of pull, that you would rather be sat there or outside the ice cream man eating your ice cream, sat there, than in this world you're doing all this bullshit that you knew you had to get rid of in order to become this beautiful place, that beautiful state and luxurious, orgasming, forever, eternal state. And I knew if I could have stayed there, I think something else would have happened. Besides, it was just, that's why. So I had to come back and try to get rid of the after effects, because it wasn't making me functional in a lot of ways. If you went and sorry if it sounds a bit sort of derogative to human society, right? But it is, and that is like, how would it feel to go and live with a bunch of monkeys who live primitively like that? They attack each other, they have they say things that, and they don't really mean it. You see all this, you penetrate right through all the crap, and I see it all, and you have to be,
you see every motivation behind every action. You see clearly what motivates that action.
I'm not so crystal clear on it now, but I see much more than what a lot of other
only
people
because you have chosen not to, because it's almost unlivable, isn't it?
It's the thing is, right, what brings, part of the course that brings you there is speaking the truth to yourself first, and you get into a habit of being truthful with yourself, and you kept your mind and mouth closed, sealed and shut and dissolved for a long time. And so if something comes up in your mind, you're penetrated with lasered concentration and focus, and you will see the answer, and the answer is always the laser melts it away and it's gone. Everything comes to...
It dissolves.
Nothing. Everything comes to nothing. When you question it in that way that long-term meditation gives you. And so when you come back into the world and you speak with people, or they speak with you, you see, and sometimes you can recognize something is going to be said before it's said, and you recognize an impulse because you've learned about your own impulses that becomes transformed from the truth into something else, and you see all of those things, and you will say things to other people that you will say to yourself because you know it's the truth, and that's the only thing that's been your guiding light to get you out of the hell that you lived in. And it's a kind of, for you, it was a great deed. The truth was a great torch, a great light. And you forget that in the beginning, it was a great obstacle to face. And so you've forgotten that because you've become conditioned to accepting the truth about everything, about yourself, everything bad, everything good, everything then becomes free. And so you're in this free, blissful state, and then you look here, you speak, and you say, but you mean something else. Or you mean something, but you say something else than what you mean. And you see it because you've seen the whole thing. And like I said before, one of the things you understand is dreams, because the dreams are the same sort of energy and impulses that you've had to decipher in deep meditation. First the feeling, and then you say the something. And in a dream, you replay the feeling of the day, you see the picture. Picture is symbolic of the truth of something that you felt. Whereas in your mind, you lie about what you felt. You don't say you're jealous, you don't say you're angry, you don't say that I don't like you, you don't say the truth. And so I could see all those things. And
because it leads to conflict.
Yeah, that leads to conflict, and it doesn't create good situations. It only creates conflict and big trouble. And like I said, so it's coming back to society is very difficult. And so I've become a bit of a distance now from
the steps. If it's good to know the steps towards enlightenment. But that is after you have enlightenment, what you have to deal with. And which is always interesting and good for people to know. Because I make a conscious decision not to go towards enlightenment.
Yeah.
And I have my reasons for that. But is it... because when you went into your meditation, you had only one thing, one sentence and one picture. That's all you took. That's why it only took you 6 months from start to finish.
Yeah, I was lucky being stupid.
Yes, ignorance. Ignorance is bliss in that situation. Plus, we do know who you have been in former life, so we know that your efforts of this life you take forward in your next life.
Yeah.
So.
Like I know, for instance, that one of the hold ups to enlightenment is learned knowledge about enlightenment.
Can be a block, eh?
Yeah, and my life as Gurdjieff, I would have probably have known that all of those things, knowledge would have blocked me. So therefore, I chose a life where I was ignorant of a lot of that kind of stuff, and that I would be given an environment that would produce or incubate my persona in such a way that it would be much more easier for me to attain the stuff that I'd always taught in that life. And in that life as well, I served myself to humanity in a face-on way. And I'm doing it this way, unface-on way, on a little camera over there. And I also knew that I needed to serve the family in some way too, because that had karmic influences involved with it. And I think that I've got a shape on it now, and I won't say I've done it right, and I won't say I've done it wrong. I've done it the way that the environment gave me certain choices, and I hopefully picked up the correct choices. Although I did let my penis take my life over in the early parts of my my youth, and
it created a lot of trouble.
Yes, but what I do understand is that there is no such thing as a soul that comes here by accident.
No.
And whatever means that child will have come here, then that was already prearranged. And I'm not trying to let myself off the hook, but sometimes we need to feel some form of responsibility and some form of guilt in order to produce certain feelings that we can have more enriched relationships. And sometimes we need that in order to bond in certain ways, because that's also needed too. So it's like a complex puzzle that all the parts have to fit in certain ways. And I'm going to take it back now though, because I've gone off of the track a bit, to the stages of enlightenment, because all through life, even those things there, that the family things, are stages towards our eventual enlightenment or evolution of our own soul. And therefore, when we first sit, our first obstacle, like the same as in life, is our body. And our body, what do we do as youngsters? Well, we mostly want to be stimulated and feel good and have something that tastes nice, have something that feels nice. And everything is about pleasure. And therefore, in sitting still, we do the opposite. We are no longer chasing something that pleasures us. We are trying to sit, and we're dealing with the pain of our body. That's not pleasure, that's the opposite of pleasure. And it's so easy at that point. So, I think I'll give up now. Let's get out of here. This ain't good. Let's go and have something to eat. Let's go and kiss and cuddle the wife or whatever. So then you realise, no, but in one way, knowledge of, well, if you sit past that, you will go to this stage. So that at that point, then it's a good idea maybe to understand the longer you sit, the easier it becomes.
So that mark is good to know.
So I would say at that point, sit, and eventually the pain will lessen, and eventually you'll go past the body. So at that point.
But so that's good to know.
Yeah, so.
That's a marker.
But I did it anyway.
Yes.
I didn't know that.
Because your suffering kept you going. Because
I didn't want to suffer, yeah.
Yeah, you were in a little cell. There was nothing else to stimulate you. So in a way, as soon as you stopped doing, because in the beginning it's a doing, you was confronted with yourself even more.
Yeah, it was terrible.
So, and because the way you had already formed yourself, you became a champion in boxing, and so you were goal orientated. So you're very good in setting goals and achieving them. That's why that made you a champion. So when you made up your mind to mimic that picture you saw on that magazine in the bus of somebody sitting in lotus with the title "End Mind and Suffering," once you set your mind to that trait that made you a champion boxer also made you go all the way from A to Z.
I actually do remember that process of thought, so you're absolutely right there.
I'm very smart, mate.
Because I had to deal with claustrophobia, and it was very bad. I'm locked up in a cell, and it was really small, really, the area I had to walk in was really small. And I would walk in a figure of 8 all day from sunrise to sunset like this in a small, like 8 steps this way, 8, no.
Is it the length of a bed, or was it a little bit more than the length of a bed?
The length of the bed plus a desk, and that was the length of it. So 6 foot by 4 foot, something like that. And so 10 foot. And I'd walk in a figure of 8 in a gap that was about 4 foot again, 4 foot. So I'm walking in a figure of 8 from sunrise to sunset. That's my claustrophobia.
To deal with the symptoms, yeah.
That was painful. And then sitting in a position, not moving, was also painful. And I first sat, and it was like, whoa, like, you know, I got to get away from here because I'm looking for there's something better than this. We all look for something better. We want to go out and do things. We want to go and sit in the sun or do something nice. I couldn't do something nice because I'm locked in a cell. And so I sit and whoa, I can't do it. I'm up. I got to jump up fast and get out of that as quick as I can because that's even worse than the prison cell. And so, like, then, as Ahiranta mentioned, I got a certain kind of groove in my mind where I think that the more I try, the better I become.
Yeah, you formed that characteristic.
Yeah. And so I think I'm walking, I got a lot of time to think because I'm walking up and down to put my mind on that. Maybe I can do it like I do in training. The more I do, the more stronger I become. And so I sit, jump up, 30 seconds, 1 minute, 2 minutes, 3 minutes, 4 minutes, 5 minutes, 1 hour, 2 hours, 3 hours, 4 hours, and that's how it went. And so that was overcoming. In order to sit for, I think it was possibly something like 2 hours, that was still painful for 2 hours. So I had to get past 2 hours to get past the pain of the body. So, you know, you can see this determination in a person who can sit and endure, because it's only I think it was like something like just an half an hour and the pain begins. So out of 2 hours, you've got 1.5 hours of constant pain from various parts of your body. Your legs getting numb and all kinds of stuff like that. So it's a hurdle, and that's a phase toward enlightenment, and it's overcoming the phase of pleasure seeking, because pleasure seeking, we all do it. We've all been taught to pleasure seek, and here we are now, we're doing totally the opposite. We're going against everything we were conditioned to do. We are creating pain by not seeking pleasure. Where there's pleasure, there's pain. Where there's pain, there's pleasure. And so those two things are interlinked. We don't realize that. And so if I overcome pain, I overcome pleasure. And that is the truth. That is a real truth.
So that is good to know.
Yeah.
Because you can't sit and wait for that. But when it happens to you, you know it's okay. Now you have told the people, because nobody told you, people who try to sit and can do 2 hours and think, I must be doing something wrong, I still have pain.
Yeah.
No, it's okay. So that road mark, that is that, no, but to know that's helpful. I think what I have come to give words is, it's not helpful to know city powers that might come on your way, because that will be distracting you, that will lead you off the path.
Yeah.
But knowing that you have to sit in pain and keep going, that's helpful, because that's how you did it.
Yeah. Well, there's something else I'd like to add further to that.
Because do you know, you have told me those stories 20 years now, this is new. Again, every time you
we've
talk...
We've never really gone deeply into it.
No, but that's so interesting. Yeah. Every time we talk, a little detail comes up, because people have to realize memory is unreliable.
Yeah.
If you talk about an experience even from yesterday, you might fill in something, you might add something unconsciously, sometimes consciously, because you want to make yourself look better. But when it comes to your experience, you are talking about experience early 80s. We are now in 2022. So sometimes it takes time for you for a memory to serve.
Well, the thing is with...
This was new to me.
The thing is with meditation is that a memory is something that can never be repeated in a way. That's a memory. But a trip down a road or on
the
a map,
experience, yeah.
you re-experience the same
Yeah.
thing each time.
Yeah.
Each time I sit in meditation, I'm going the same
Yes.
road. Each time I sit, I'm going the same
Yeah.
road. Sometimes I go a bit further and re-remember as I'm taking
Yeah.
it. Oh, I remember that tree. Oh, I
Yeah.
remember
Oh,
that
yeah.
tree.
There's a
That tree.
lamppost
So
there.
each time
Yeah.
I meditate, that I'm being re-reminded of all of those things.
Yeah, and this was
so,
interesting just
yeah.
now, that little detail
Yeah.
that the first half hour is okay, but when you reach 2 hours sitting, 1.5 hour is in pain. That is really interesting.
And there is something else that relates to that, and that is, I mentioned the pleasure seeking. And when you overcome the pain, which takes a certain length of time,
Practice.
maybe, I think it goes into about the 3 hour mark, 3.5 hours, somewhere around there, after 3 hours, that you start losing the body and the pain. You can't lose the body until you lose the pain. And what I found was, and this, this is one of the obstacles you encounter, the pleasure seek. You want to pleasure seek, and the body is suffering pain. So you're in conflict. Get out of the pain. It's so easy to get out of the pain. The temptation to get out of the pain, something is saying like, no, stay. And so, but the pleasure, the pain, the pleasure, what do you're in conflict. No. And so you stay with it. And suddenly, this is obviously another stage that I don't know if the jhanas mention, but my mind is on the pain in the body, okay? And when the mind was on the pain in the body, it seemed to get more intense. I didn't realise that until at a certain stage. So there are many more stages than the jhanas actually explain. And so the more I thought, where was the pains? It was from the back, the hips, the legs would go numb. Dangerous, I suppose, but other people have done. I mean, I'm European like everyone else. I sit in chairs. I know I used to sit cross-legged, which is what I was doing. But I would alter myself before sitting in the meditation so that it wouldn't break my meditation, and where I'd have to move out of this position in order to allow the blood to flow through my legs. So I would remember to alter my leg before I began the meditation into the right position that I would consider during the meditation to move my leg, and think, well, that's a broken meditation. I could have been sat for 2 hours and then realise that my leg is in the wrong positions, causing much more intense pain than what it needed to have done. So therefore, next time I meditate, I will move it just a little bit this way in order to make sure that doesn't happen after 2.5 hours or whatever. So
Wow.
and then I would recognise, so I'm on a kind of, it's still pain, and understand that this is also connected to the process to enlightenment, because pain and pleasure, we're in the duality, we're still living on that level of existence of pain and pleasure, so we are still pleasure seekers. Because the body is symbolic of that battle, that struggle between pain and pleasure. The body is a symbol of pain and pleasure. And so it is an obstacle to overcome to the road to enlightenment. So anyway, I would go deep, and suddenly for a moment, it would pop up, the focus, like if all the eyes was looking up here. And I think they used to actually go upwards, because I remember, and the tongue would gently touch the palate of the mouth. And I've come across this before in the Indian Vedic tradition. I've heard people speak about doing a method of meditation where you stick your tongue up like this and you look upwards.
But you came to that
after,
naturally through the meditation.
And I was only aware of that.
But that's interesting, because some people try to do that to reach a certain state. But you came, you meditated, and that happened naturally.
Yeah.
And that's interesting for people to hear.
Yeah. Again, it's another stage that's not mentioned in the jhanas, but I think the Vedic people are aware of, the Vedic tradition is aware of it somewhere. And I wouldn't have pulled it out of the bag, but I recognised it, and because it's like, if you're aware of yourself through your sleep and through your certain conscious levels that we naturally go through, well, I recognise that during my deep meditations in that area, not the 1 hour part of it, but that these things I would come out and I would be aware, my tongue gently touching the top of my palate, and that my eyes was up here and then they would come back down again. And that was the mind basically coming back into this area here and starting to do all this electrical impulses up there. So when it was there, all this would stop. And then when it came down, the view of your eyes there, then it would start again. And when your mind is not stilled, sometimes they move this way, even though your eyes can be, eyelids can be shut, they move this way.
Yeah.
And so you're thinking, and when that happens, when your eyes move, you're thinking.
Yeah.
So there's the recognizing the symptoms after, not before. But the Vedic tradition, they try to teach them to look upwards and
as
stick
a practice.
The tongue, and it's always, in a way, I don't think it works. For a novice meditator, it doesn't work. I think maybe you've been in enlightenment and then you go out, you come back, and then you know that this position needs to be maintained in order to get you there, and it's easier for a person that has been there before. But I think for a novice meditator who's on the way, they should need to know about those things, like the jhanas, because it can do the same kind of obstruction to your meditation for enlightenment as knowing everything before you get there.
Because the problem I can see occur is that people become impatient, they can't keep their focus, and to satisfy their mind, they will jump, oh, I'm going to do this practice now.
Yeah, that's right.
And that's why in the past, maybe the masters, right. I have been reading a bit, and I read that a master would give a disciple one thing, and they wouldn't know about the rest.
Yeah.
That's what they had to master before they were given the rest, because there's many strands of spiritual practices. You have the bonds, the Bon, is it the Bon?
Bon
Buddhism. You have Zen Buddhism. You have whatever, I don't know what other Buddhism, that's the two I remember. So they all they split off because there's always somebody who thinks they know better.
Yeah.
So you came to your body, when you reached a certain state, your body took on its own a certain position.
Yeah.
Some things started to occur. Whereas now many people who come to Buddhism or meditation from an intellectual perspective, they try to put into practice what enlightened people who have reached enlightenment have told. This happened like you are now. This happened, my tongue went there, my eyes went there.
Yeah.
And some now call that the third eye. So then we come again back, is it beneficial for people or is it detrimental?
Well,
because we are sharing your experience. Is that going to benefit our viewers or is it detrimental for our viewers?
Well, I still think it's detrimental. You know, we maybe will come to another conclusion because I'm neither here nor there. Because part of it, I'm aware, can help. Like if you sit for a longer time, you'll get past the pain. I think that
and it's
help.
Good to know. 2 hours sitting still in pain.
Yeah, you can't pretend that there's no pain.
That is what happened to you.
You can't pretend there's no pain coming. But for me, I didn't even have that information. So, you know, I think maybe that part can help.
Yes.
I mean, it's like
certain things
knowing everything, right? Like it's like I said, the ego is foxy and dangerous. And
the imagination.
You know, did anybody out there ever watch like St. Francis of Assisi? Oh man, Brother, Sun, Sister, Moon, beautiful. If you like being touched.
Me, because
then-
Ozay loves them.
And then Jesus Christ, there's, I don't know, I forgot the name of the film.
Jesus Christ Superstar, of course.
No, not that one.
Oh.
It was a film about, like,
Never seen it.
Jesus, right? And it was the story of Jesus, you know, and his rise to spiritual, you know, and, you know, just the story of the Bible, right? And, like, I'm watching that film and I think, wow, amazing, wow, he's so wonderful, wow, he just done a miracle, wow, all those beautiful words had come out of his mouth, he's truly, truly the Son of God, like. And then you sit down and then you're so like, wow, blown away, man, that's just unreal.
It's true, it's true.
And then you think, hang on a minute, this is a film. The film's just ended. It said his name. It's not Jesus Christ. It's Joe Bloggs. Huh? He's an actor. So how can an actor convince me? And there it is. There is. And it was the same for St. Francis of Assisi.
He played it so well, eh? Yeah.
Brother, Sun, Sister, Moon. I tell you something. I know about enlightenment. I know what enlightened people are meant to be like, you know, when they're close to the, you know, just come out of the enlightenment, and they have a certain look in their eyes, right? The eyes tend to be, they don't move around very much. A person who's just come out of enlightenment, their eyes don't move around very much, and you can tell they're fixed. They're not moved much. They're like this, and so another enlightened person, not enlightened person. Remember, you can't be in enlightenment and here looking. So a person who's had enlightenment will recognize another person who's had enlightenment, and the fixedness. They don't move. They won't move much. The body won't move much. They're not looking for, like, I'm moving around. My body is becoming uncomfortable, and so I move into a different position. I'm pleasure seeking. So I'm in the mode of pleasure seeking, and that I need to get out of that stage in order to go towards enlightenment. So this stage of moving and forever seeking to put myself in a better, more comfortable position is an indication that I haven't got past the pleasure seeking. And so, you know, a person who's had enlightenment and knows what he had to go through, the punishments that he went through and the torture he went through with his body, will recognise the symptoms in another human being who's had enlightenment. He's hardly moving his body. His eyes are fixed. He has no desire to move his eyes because there's no desire to think. He's free, he's blissing, he's joyful. And within, and he hasn't got to tell anyone, he hasn't got to show it in any way, he got nothing to prove to anyone. That person I recognise as a person who's just come out of enlightenment. So going back now to this state where the eyes, for a moment, they fix up here. They're looking upwards, like this, the tongue gently very gently touches the palate. You don't even realise you're doing that, and only until you do it again, because you've been given information, that's how I recognised it. It was sometime after that I recognised, when I attained the information, that this was what was happening. And so your eyes go upwards, and then during the time that your eyes are fixed upwards, it's like your mind becomes fixed as well, because your eyes become still. They're a symptom. Your eyes are a symptom of your mind. And so you was down here on the mind was down here on the pain, and you was feeling pain, but when they go there, for that moment, you're free of the pain. You've been sitting for 3.5 hours, and suddenly you're free of pain, just for a quick moment, and then whoosh, the pain pulls it back, the attention back again. And then you consider, it goes again, gone for a moment. So you start recognizing, when I'm fixed, this pain goes. So the pain becomes, rather than an inhibitor, it becomes a helper. And it's teaching you the way to go. Look, I'm going to stop if you fix there. Up here, your eyesight, your eyes, they fix in, I think I saw somebody dying once on YouTube. This fella, he was just standing there. He was talking.
A politician.
Yeah, in India, right? And
yeah.
I was shocked by it to start with because you don't see that. And suddenly you see his eyes and they roll upwards like this. And that's exactly how it is. Your eyes roll up automatically and they stay fixed. Then the pain goes. So when the pain, like in the beginning, it only happens for a brief moment.
And in that person, his life went.
Yeah, his life went, and he went somewhere, beautiful. A lot of people who come back from, my mother was one of them, and her heart stopped, and clinically she was dead.
They brought them back. Yeah.
And for 7 times this happened to my mother, and she told us that it was beautiful. She didn't want to be brought back.
No longer afraid for death, she said.
She was scared of death, wasn't she?
Yeah, she said, don't be afraid. I've always been terrified, but it's beautiful where we go in.
Yeah. And, she was one of the classic...
very down to earth.
NDs, near-death experiences.
She didn't believe in angels, she didn't believe in spirits, she didn't believe in nothing. Death is dead. When you're dead,
I'm dead, it's gone, I'm over with.
Yeah.
Don't cry, I'd be gone.
Yeah. She was Greek Cypriot.
Yeah, she was a gem, our mum was. But anyway, so the eyes get fixed momentarily up there. You recognise a freedom from the body and, the pain. And then, so you keep trying to, like I said, effort. That's the one that catches you. When you make effort, but then you fix yourself in such a way where you recognise that this thing happens effortlessly, and it's a no mind thing, and your eyes will go up effortlessly like a person dying, and the eyes will automatically fix up there, and the tongue will automatically. I don't know if that person who died, his tongue went up and that's gently touched the bottom of his palate, but certainly the eyes was an indication. When they go up there, you're free of the body.
Can I say something? Because
no more pain.
This is really interesting. Like I said, Ozay is talking to me seriously daily. We speak. This is how we always talk. This kind of stuff, but never mentioned those little details. There is still so much to discover for me about his experience. Did you not mention once that dripping something in the back of the throat? Was that also part of that? Because we always say there is a triangle, there's always 3. So the eyes up, tongue to the palate. Would that also coincide with that dripping of they call it nectar, I believe, in one of those scriptures?
Yeah,
Does that ring a
bell? I never really thought much about it until.
No, but can you now go back and see if that happened too?
Yeah, it was happening, but I saw it more as aggravation, because it was tickling the back of my throat, and I didn't consider that was part of it. And
because you didn't know the milestones. Interesting. But it was there was a triangle then. It was the eyes, the tongue, and then what they call the nectar in the throat.
Yeah, possibly, yes, but I considered it an aggravation, just like I considered the breath an aggravation, because it was in the way. It was something that was there. I didn't want to be there. I wanted to be free of everything.
Can I ask you another thing?
Disappear.
Because you said the body and pain. As long as the pain is there, the body is there. So the chicken and egg. What goes first? The body falls away, and by that the pain falls away, or the pain falls away and by that the body falls away, or is it not important at all?
Well, you missed out the pleasure, because they are interlinked, and without pain there's no pleasure. Without pleasure there's no pain. Okay, so you have to transcend the body, and so the pain has to go first before the body.
Do we make that happen, or is it just a matter of sitting?
When the eyes are fixed up here, the concentration goes up there, and then the body disperses, it's gone. So the pain is gone. Pain goes first, and then the body goes at the same time.
So when the
after.
eyes go up here, our mind stops functioning.
It's a focus in a way.
Yep, the mind stops functioning. And by that our awareness is no longer drawn to the pain. The awareness is all drawn in this area here. And by that, the pain, the body is still there in principle. Eh? Somebody who sees you sitting still sees the body. But because the eyes go up, I'm just trying to, the eyes go up, tongue on the palate, and then...
It's not, it's you have to understand that it sounds like if you're saying that you're asking the eyes to go up.
No.
You don't ask
No, I don't mean that.
Okay.
The natural occurrence of the eyes start going up.
Like a person dying.
That's right, and by that the mind reaches a silence, and by that the registration of pain impulses in the body falls away.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Oh, that's okay.
Yeah, and so again...
I have a master degree actually, that's why I understand.
She's a master.
No, but it's really interesting. It's the details.
Get out, you little bitch. Get out. And then she pulls me on the chain and I'm like this.
Yeah, bent over, smack your up.
Anyway, I don't like laughter.
You don't like happy people?
I hate people who are happy.
Hence this is the Happy Life Show. No, really interesting, Ozay. Really interesting. You have brought things to fore tonight.
Yeah.
Just because we try to see if it's beneficial to know the milestones or is it detrimental.
Okay, so we have basically overcome the body, and the thing is, there's another obstacle then. You stay in the body and you've achieved overcoming the pain of the body. Next thing you get is joy and bliss, because you're not battling with the body and the pleasures, the duality of the body with pleasure and all that kind of stuff. But now there's bliss and there's joy, and it's something you can become stuck in again, I think, personally. For me, it happened, some would say that it was by luck of coincidence, things fell in place at the right time, because I was reading the Bible, and I was, at this time, I'd read it through about 7 times, from first page all the way to last page, first page. And during the course I was doing that, I was meditating, no mind. I would sit, read, then I would exercise my body, and then I would meditate, and then I would sit, I would read, and during that time I was going through all pages of the Bible. And I would sit, when I sit, the thoughts would stop completely. I became a master of my mind, and master.
See, and, he has a master degree too. I'm going to make you a certificate.
Can I have one on the wall like that?
Yeah.
Up there.
Okay.
She got one of those like square hats on her head, and she's wearing it. And she got one of these kind of gown things on. Hot. And yeah, that's a stage you overcome. But there was still, I recognised that I was standing still, and I was just in this bliss and this joy.
Standing still in your development? What? In your
just
practice?
in the meditation. It was. I think
you reached a plateau?
Yeah, plateau. And so I'm reading the Bible, and my mind is absolutely pure. Although during the time of reading the Bible is having words put into it, and understand that due to the meditation, my ability to concentrate and focus on what I was reading helped me to read better, and I was able to understand more because of the meditation.
And by that time, your anger and hatred that you had lived with for 2 decades, over 2 decades, melted and the Bible, stories in the Bible started to generate compassion?
Well,
is that the right way of saying it?
There was absolute...
It's like lava from
There was nothing there. The hate, the feeling of hate, which was like a fist pressing up into my...
pure aggression, huh?
Yeah, into my guts, which was hurting me more than it was hurting anyone else. And that had gone, that had been... It was
dissolved.
Relaxed, it was gone,
yeah.
absolutely gone. And understanding myself, all those reasons I had to have hate, I understood other people, and so that was gone as well. And so there was emptiness, empty space. And when I was reading the Bible, though, I was maybe I was, I don't know whatever time, and each time I came to the end of the Bible, I came to a kind of, if you like, a higher state of reasoning and understanding of the meaning of this.
Because there was different layers of meaning behind the words.
I was stripping different layers of me away, of course, and that me only understood at
it's
that
like
level.
an onion, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly that. Yeah. Beautiful metaphor, babe. Maria, 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 Maria. I just met a girl called Maria. Where's Maria? You don't know. I don't know how a flower grows, said Cat Stevens. Anyway, and so let's get serious now.
Every time you finish reading the Bible, you build up another layer.
Yeah, I come to a point when I peeled away and coming closer to the centre of the onion.
And the meaning of the Bible, the words in the Bible, you saw deeper and deeper and deeper.
Each time, yeah. I mean, they talk about chakras, and I can only associate it to possibly different levels of chakra. And I estimated that I actually read the whole Bible through possibly about 7 times during that stage of my meditation. And it's fair to say that each time I read through it alongside the sitting in meditation, that I was possibly raising through the chakras, because that is actually how it felt, that I was peeling different parts of myself away and my energy. And my final understanding of the Bible was, I want to tell something else before, after I say this, though. But my understanding of the Bible, in the beginning, it was just all broken stories, broken people, good people, bad things, good things, blah, blah. And then I saw the Bible as one person, one life. It became a person, not separate stories, but one person, one life, one thing. And that was my final understanding. And on that last reading of the Bible, of Jesus, my feeling of love was in my belly, and it was so beautiful. And I would sit, a story would create the feeling of fantastic love, and then I would sit, the mind was gone, the story was gone, but the love would stay. And that love was like, it was like a, how do you say, a transporter. It made me stay in the stillness better, longer. The trip was, terrible using words for a non-verbal state. Please don't get lost by the words, but try to understand it as a happening, a process where these things are just like, they are not spoken of. A flower is not spoken of. When it's planted as a seed, then it becomes 2 leaves and a stem, then it becomes another 2 leaves and another, and then it becomes a flower, and then it fully blooms, and then it seeds, and then it drop, and it just happens. And I'm explaining this in a verbal sense, okay? So otherwise, I do the Trungpa Rinpoche stuff, where you don't say a word. That's enlightenment. Okay, what do you get from that? You don't get it. And so I'm trying to give you symbolic suggestions that you can try and relate to within yourself. And again, the imagination can turn it into, it can be poisonous as well. So if you use what I say correctly, it can help you. And so the love was like the final host to take me the rest of the way and to break the light open. And so it was much better than anything. And the joy and the bliss had gone, and there's something much better that was in my body, and then the light came, and then it was all gone after that. And that was the word again, omnipotent, is the only word I can use, but it's just a poor definition of that timeless, breathless state that you become in.
You learned all those words later, after decades.
I didn't have that vocabulary when it happened to me,
No.
but
like you said, you had a simple mind, and
that helped me. Not knowing nothing helped me much better than if I'd known all these verbal, intellectual things that I know now. Then I wouldn't have done it.
I think the simplicity of your state in this life made it possible for you to do it in such a short amount of time. You didn't have much intellectual garbage to get rid of.
Yeah.
What you had to get rid of was more raw feelings that you battled with.
Yeah. And I'm aware that I was really lucky to have been given that kind of environment. And the only reason I'm aware of that is because I spent so much time. Like I said, I wanted to help people. I came like Jesus Christ. And I wanted to show love to everyone. But the ego sees fault in love, and they see it as a weakness. And so I had
the knives come out.
And I had to use different methods to break through the egos. And you'll see me on Facebook, like trying to serve the greater good. But you look at some things that I say and do, and you'll think that
you're not very compassionate.
Yeah, this guy's an absolute nut.
Yeah.
But what I actually do is, I like I said, I have a great understanding of myself and my own nature and what brought me to what I became and what I've become now. And I know where it comes from.
But you play roles online. You know exactly how to deal with each individual. You're not a puppet. You're not a robot. You talk to everybody the same.
No.
It's the same as.
It's not learned behavior.
Because
although some of it becomes learned in the end.
Well, that is
because I keep meeting the same people.
Yes.
Same people over. There's possibly maybe, let's say, 13 different types of people I meet on the net, and I keep meeting them over and over again. And I got a different act for each one of them. Yeah. And I come to.
And you can't take them outside of where they are at.
You can't.
No. You had somebody who sadly passed away, Martin Yap. Still bless your soul, Martin, and we still are gutted. Even I never spoke to the man, but I know him so well through Ozay.
Yeah.
We still feel very saddened by his absence, because he was one of the first always to react to Ozay's post. So we will mention his name so now and then, because he's a big part of the whole journey, really. But Martin was one of the ones that you could
he understood.
Take. You could just express yourself different. You could share. He was open to everything. He didn't label you to a certain box.
Yeah.
And it's very rare. You don't come across those people very often. Rare. Because Ozay sometimes talks to me about his work done on the net that a certain day, and then he said, "Well, I'm stopped again from commenting." Facebook just blocks him because people
get kicked off groups all the time.
People report him.
I try my best, honestly.
The ego of the people Ozay deals with, when they can't, they are out to win a debate.
Yeah.
And Ozay you just play the role with them, but they can't win. So what do? Ozay is reported, and he is in Facebook jail for 30 days or 24 hours, depending.
Yeah. But it's like they say, it's I'm faced with a dilemma: is do I conform to what they expect of me completely, or do I conform to the truth? And I have to try and balance it out. And I've become better at making it last a bit longer before they boot me. And because it's true, the fact is that, the truth pisses you off before it sets you free. And all those groups end up setting me free before I can.
And then he talks about it, that he try to learn to make it last longer. What's your record? 2.5 minutes?
Well, I did have a record. I went on for a couple of days. Once I get into a debate.
Oh, you missed a joke.
What? Yeah. Oh, go and say it again then. Sorry.
What is your record? 2.5 minutes?
Oh. There's nobody out there who can last 2.5 minutes. No way. No way. I can last 2.5 minutes, but you can.
I think
You're spoiled.
We're going over well over an hour, so I think we should
okay, wrap up now.
Wrap it up.
Okay, hang on now.
You wanted to say something.
Yes, and I think we've gone through all the stages in my language, and like I said, I think really it's only good to know so far all the way through though. I think it's a bit of help to know that you can use an artificial source at a certain point in your meditation as well to invoke the feeling of love, because that will help you as a host to bash the rest of it away, and the light to appear. But the light also, I spoke about that. If you look at the light and not on your object of meditation, i.e., let's say you're looking at your breath, you're at that final stage of observing your breath, and then the light starts appearing, and you look at the light because it's so beautiful. Again, everything is beautiful when you get past that certain point beyond the body, and so that's a stage. Not checking out the light, but sticking on the breath, and the breath gets less and less and less, and then suddenly push. And you also need that invocation, an artificial invocation from what I used was the Bible, the stories out of the Bible, Jesus. And you can only feel that love. That love can only develop when your mind is been silenced from a lot of meditation, silence, that you're just empty and there's nothing, not even love. And so you're waiting for that love. You're at the right time to read a story, to have it invoked, because there's nothing else there except the universal consciousness, which is tapping into, when you feel love there, you're tapping into that universal consciousness, which is all around, everywhere, throughout the universes. And so that is omnipotent, and then push you away. So I think I've hit on everything that I can explain in my own English now, in our own English language, for you guys out there to understand that is educating yourself in the ego imagination and the effort reward thing. Ego can trick you like a fox. So you just got to be aware of all of these things before you take on meditation. So good luck with it.
But if I understand it correctly, it is sit, accept the pain, and prevent yourself from breaking your meditation, no matter what.
Yeah.
Sit, sit, sit. And if it becomes unbearable, release, sit again.
Try not to, but you're aiming not to move, not once. Once you move,
one twitch,
it's like going back to the beginning.
Yeah.
Let's say you sat 1 hour.
You just as well get up then,
and then
for
you
a second.
Move,
yeah.
Then you finished the meditation.
Yeah, yeah.
So you start in again another 1 hour.
Yeah.
And then you can sit for 2 hours. You sat 2 hours. But if you break after 2 hours, right? You move your leg. Then you think you sat 3 hours, but you haven't. You've only sat for how long it was after you
that's
moved
right.
your leg.
So you sit, and the pain, you cannot make the pain disappear. The disappearance of pain comes when you have strengthened your willpower, because in the beginning it is a doing. When you strengthen your willpower to a certain level, and you can increase your awareness and your stillness, and that's when it disappears on its own accord.
Yeah.
You cannot make the pain disappear. That is a happening.
Yeah,
When you
it
reach a
happens,
certain
yeah,
level,
yeah.
that's what I have
But
come
you
to
also
understand.
have to remember as well that when your legs or body is in a improper position,
No matter what you
the
do.
pain will bring you out, and you will come out, and you have to come out because you can ending up with something badly
Damage,
wrong with it.
yeah.
So, and like I said, the next time you sit, you remember that you needed to move your leg in a certain position.
Don't sit in the same position.
Not
exactly.
to sit in the same position.
It can be only millimeters,
Yeah.
millimeters difference.
Yeah, you can recognize, or it could be just the way the position, like your center of gravity, this part of you. Like you could be sat like this, right, too far forward or too far back, and then you'll get a pain somewhere that you recognize, oh, I've sat too far forward. Maybe I should straighten up. But that's the end of your meditation. Even if you sit for 3 hours, if you've done that after 1 hour, you've only sat for 2 hours, or after 2 hours, you've only sat for 1 hour. So you've got to remember that your meditation ends as soon as you
adjust,
move, and it begins.
You have to start
again.
Very interesting. Seriously, you have brought up certain things that I haven't heard of, and we are talking about this together over 2 decades.
Well, you never
really interesting.
You had to do it different because you was lying in a prone position.
Yeah, no, but just you always shared all your experiences, but I have now come to see, because we are doing these talks, it brings forward more details.
You never really questioned me the way you do.
Because I needed to reach a certain level as well to become able to put questions forward.
I'll be honest with you, right? I always wanted you to ask me more in this way, because I wanted to explain these things to you, but you only asked as far as you wanted to know or needed to know.
No, being able to ask, it's an ability. It needed to grow in me as well.
Yeah.
Plus, you always say the question, because some people write questions to us, and some people write. They truly meditate themselves, and Kate is one of them. Thank you, Kate. And Tammy has also started meditating, so her questions will deepen in time to come too because of that. But the question brings out your experience.
Yeah, of course, because you got other people's input.
Yeah, and also because your mind is very quiet in principle. If people don't ask you any questions, nothing comes up.
No.
So. No. Very grateful, Ozay. Thank you very much. Really impressed about tonight. I don't want to feed your ego, and I know you won't. But it's just, I'm mind blown. No, I'm blown away tonight. It's really fantastic.
Oh, okay.
Thank you.
Jolly good.
And to all our viewers, thank you again for joining us, and especially our super fans. Thank you for all your support. And don't forget, maybe this one will be published after Ozay was on the Craig and Jane show, but you can still watch it on their channel.
Don't forget to donate to our Friday night piss-ups. The link is down below.
Yeah, just give us your money.
It's a worthy cause.
Yay! And if you don't have any money, you can support us by subscribing. Just as precious, if not more.
If you don't want to get us pissed, you can buy us a coffee.
Oh yeah, we have that link too. Wow, we are really making
LSG.
lots and lots of money off these videos.
Maybe you could sell us some LSG.
LSD?
Yeah.
No.
Let's be good.
No.
Let's be good.
No.
Let's be good.
Okay, darlings. See you next time.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Oh, we have nothing to toast on. I have only a little bit. No, truly impressed. Yeah.
It's getting a bit warm, isn't it?
Yeah, I overcame it right from just relaxing. I started sweating.
What was the best like?
Especially with the eyes going up there, and I remember you talking about the nectar in the back of your throat. So I thought, because it's always a triangle, I must be the must have been that nectar then too.
Yeah.
So my intelligence, not a master intelligence, my ripening or maturing, that helps too to put the question forward, like you say, from well, when the body and the pain, you can't do nothing with that. You just have to sit and then happening takes place. And that was.
It just becomes more stronger.
I thought that was
The
mind-blowing.
more you sit and the more you, it's like digging a map, really.
I think this is the video to publish again for you to share around this one.
It's like digging a root underground in a way, and you keep going back, and it gets a little bit further each time, a little bit further, but you have to go through the same thing. And if you try to go this way or that way, you don't get anywhere. You can't do it. You have to keep going this way, and then you go back this way. And so it's like every part of it, the pain part of it, and it's all like that. You have to go this way, and then eventually all these other things start happening. And like I always remember the idea that they're like a moth being drawn towards the light, and you don't know. Start with you both running this more hard, but you get a vague sense it's this direction, vague, like this over, and it's a vague light, and then and eventually you get towards it. It's automatic, it's like an embryo, like a flower growing, and it doesn't know it's going to be a flower, a beautiful flower, but it's just going that way anyway, and eventually it'll become a flower, and it's the place to be.
Really interesting. Absolutely interesting.